What's up, everybody? So a little while back, BLUETTI reached out to us wanting to send us their AC300 and their B300 units to test out, try, and then give a review as a potential solution for off-grid living. And as we mentioned in our last video, we have a big 4,800 watt solar system installation coming up that's going to power this camper and the cabin, but that's not set up yet. It's going to be a little while till that's ready. So when BLUETTI reached out to us about this, we were excited to try to use it as a power station for the camper while we work on building out our main solar system. So we have the camper shore power hooked into this BLUETTI system. We have some solar panels charging it. We have the whole system down for living in it right now. Let's check out the unit. So this is a modular power bank system, meaning these two units are two separate units. There's the above, which is kind of like your operating system, and then there's the bottom, and that's your battery. So this is your inverter, your solar charge controller, your AC to DC charger, and all of your power outlets. But more on that in just a bit. So this below is the B300. This is the battery that's actually powering the top unit, and this is 3,072 watt hours. So if you're used to working with 12 volt systems in a van or something like that, that's about 252 amp hours in a normal 12 volt system. So while you need the battery to use the AC300, you can also use the battery below, the B300, by itself. The battery itself has three different power outputs. You have a 12 volt 10 amp car outlet, or also known as a cigarette outlet. You have a 100 watt USB-C output, and that's awesome because 100 watts is a lot to be pushing out of a USB-C. And then you also have an 18 watt USB-A output. There's also a separate battery indicator on just the battery itself, so that if you took this one unit by itself, you can see how much battery you have. There's also two different power inputs to just this battery by itself. There's a 12 to 60 volt 10 amp XT90 connector that you can plug into this. And there's also an 8 amp port that you could use with a regular power box to plug into the wall to charge this battery by itself. Now, the reason that I like to point out the separation of these two units and your ability to use this bottom unit is, as you see here, together, these are really, really big. So in my opinion, this is really, really incredible for a stationary system, but for mobile power, it is a little more difficult unless you're gonna put it on like a movable unit. But if you wanted to go and power, say, a 12 volt refrigerator, charge some phones, things like that on a camping trip, you are able to just bring that bottom battery bank alone. Now, the best part about these batteries and this top AC300 unit being expandable is that although right now we have one battery connected to this, you can expand to up to 4 of these 3,072 watt hour batteries. So that means you can have a power system connected to this with over 12,000 watt hours of power. That's a lot of power. The other part that I like about that is it gives you this easy entryway into getting a system like this, kind of gauge how much battery backup you want, and then it gives you the flexibility one at a time to chunk away and add more to your power bank super easily, because these both just connect together with a power plug that BLUETTI gives you. Now, the top unit has a powerful 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter with 6,000 watts of surge protection, or surge power. And it's got massive solar charging capabilities. It can accept 2,400 watts coming in from your solar panels, and this brings me to one of my favorite parts about this unit. We have another unit that allows you to bring in a similar amount of wattage, but it's all through one connector. BLUETTI included actually 2 separate MPPT charge controllers that allows you to plug in 2 different arrays. Let's go outside to see more of what I'm talking about. So with the 2,400 watt capacity of the BLUETTI, at the moment our largest solar array is 400 watts. Our second largest is 350 watts. Now, if there was only one MPPT charge controller, you could try to bridge those two panels together, but if they're operating at different voltages or anything, you're gonna lose a lot of efficiency. This is what I love about this BLUETTI. Here I have this 400 watt mobile power station that you all saw us build in one of our vlogs, and that is plugged to one of the MPPT charge controllers with 1,200 watts of capacity. Over here, BLUETTI also sent us their 350 watt solar suitcase solar panel. This is plugged into the other PV input powering the other MPPT charge controller. So although these are both coming in at different voltages, because they're going into their own charge controller, I'm not having any efficiency loss powering my batteries. And while we're on solar panels, this is pretty awesome. It is a mobile solar suitcase that packs down to about, if you see 4 separate panels here, it folds up to just 1 panel size, and it's a 350 watt system. That's more than we had on the roof of Jolene that we lived full time on, which is pretty awesome. Also, this is almost consistently producing the same or a little bit more wattage than our 400 watt, hi kitty, than our 400 watt solar panels on the side over here. So this is a very, very efficient solar panel system. Coming inside, we can see the 2 different PV inputs by clicking this button here, which shows your solar inputs. You see the input voltage of the one array with the watts that are coming through. So the first array is pulling 22 volts and it's 181 watts. Then our second array is almost 38 volts and 243 watts. Now that display that I just showed is another awesome part about this product, is that it gives you a lot of information that gives you insight into what's going on, and a lot of other products similar to this don't give you all of that information. Now, solar charging isn't the only way that you can charge up your battery on this unit. You can plug it into AC power, so a regular outlet or generator. There's 12 or 24 volt carport or cigarette outlet charging. You can even plug this into an EV power station, which we haven't tried yet, but that's pretty neat because I'm sure it would charge it very quickly. Next, you can also do dual charging, meaning you can have all of your solar arrays going to the full 2400 watts of solar, and you can plug in AC power. Now, AC power charging supports up to 3000 watts. That is huge. If you're maxing out your AC power input and your solar input, you can charge at a total of 5400 watts. I estimated that that should get this entire unit charged up in under 40 minutes, which is absurd for a battery bank this size. Now, this AC power input is defaulted to 15 amps, so about 1800 watts, and that's for safety because a lot of extension cords and power cords are only rated that high. I have kept this at 15 amps because charging at 1800 watts does get this charged in under 2 hours, and we are running an extension cord from our generator to this unit that's only rated for 15 amps at its length, so it's smart for us to keep it at that setting. So let's go start the generator so we can check out that dual charging power. So we talked a lot about how you charge this unit up and get it full of power. Now, how do you get that power back out of it so you can actually use it? Well, there's 16 different power outputs on the AC300. Starting at the top, you have 2 different 15 watt wireless charging outputs. So on this side, you have 2 different DC outputs. You have a 12 volt 30 amp right here, and then you have a 24 volt 10 amp right here. Moving on to the DC output over here, you have 4 total USB-A outputs at varying power levels, and then on top is something that I love, is a USB-C 100 watt output. The reason that this is big is if you've plugged, say, your MacBook charger or a laptop charger into something other than your normal charging block, and it won't charge your computer while using it, it's because the output wattage isn't high enough for whatever you're plugging it into. Well, at 100 watt USB-C output, that is high enough. I believe our MacBook that we do our editing on is 90 or 95 watts, so this would actually supply that. My only complaint, honestly, is that there's 4 USB-A outputs here and only 1 USB-C. And in today's age, USB-C is getting pretty prominent, so I would prefer to see 2 of these on here, but the good thing is the battery below has an additional one, so in total you do get 2. Last up, we have arguably the most important, and that's your AC output. So that's what your 3000 watt inverter is powering. And just calling that out is, although you max out at 3000 watts on this AC output, you could also be using some DC output in addition to that. But here we have 6 different 20 amp, so just normal power outlets. And lastly, you have 1 30 amp output. So this allows you to power something a little bit more over those 20 amps, or if you're using this to power your camper that has a 30 amp hookup, you're able to use this without using a step down cable, using a normal 20 amp plug. My only complaint here is if you do the math, you're not going to be able to draw a full 30 amps from this plug, and that's because this is a 3000 watt inverter, and 3000 watts is 25 amps. So the good part is, and the reason this is still convenient to have, is you, like I said, you can use your RV 30 amp plug to plug into this and take advantage of that super thick cable that comes along with it. You can pull 25 amps, which is still 600 more watts than a regular 20 amp plug would allow you to, but you're gonna fall short of that full 30 amps. To me, this isn't really a huge deal, it's just something that's important to know. So our opinion on this, as you've seen in many of our videos, we've used a few different power generators or solar generators, whatever you want to call these. And so far, this is definitely the highest quality unit that we've tested. We haven't had a single hiccup with it. Everything just feels that it's made at a very, very high quality. We haven't run into any weird percentage versus battery capacity issues that have happened on other units. In other words, when this says it's at 100%, it's at 100%. If it says it's at 50%, it's at 50%. The battery monitor seems to be very accurate, and it's really just given us no problems. We've used this as a power station in the cabin for a little bit, and then for almost a week now here in the camper, and it's been awesome. I mean, as I explained before, the only real complaints that I have is how large the unit is, the desire for more USB-C outputs on it, and the labeling of the 30 amp when it's really a 25 amp plug. None of those are a big deal, and ultimately, if the machine is working exactly how the machine's supposed to be working, I'm a happy guy, and that's what this has been doing for us. Now, there's a couple different features that we haven't highlighted in this video that we just haven't gotten to use yet, but we're gonna start using those and report back to you if we find anything funky or if we find anything that we really like. One example of this is the mobile app. I'm pretty excited to download that and see how I can control this unit from my phone versus needing to be here at the interface. BLUETTI AC300 and B300 is a dependable and reliable system for everybody from off-grid livers to people that just simply want a home battery backup system in the event of a power outage. Check out the link in the description below where you can see all of BLUETTI's awesome information on this unit and find out what other units that they may have. So huge shout out to BLUETTI for being a sponsor of Runaway Matt and Cass and for providing this awesome dependable unit to provide power here at the Runaway Ranch.